I'm 72 years old, and I can tell you exactly what it feels like to become invisible in your own life. Not the kind of invisible where people don't see you in the grocery store line. I mean the kind where your own child looks right through you and sees only what you're worth. Where the house you've lived in for 32 years, the one you painted room by room with your late husband, the one where you raised your kids and celebrated every birthday and anniversary, becomes nothing more than real estate, an asset, a problem to be solved. My name is Dorothy, and 3 months ago, my son Kevin told me my house was too big for one person. He didn't say it cruelly. That's the thing that hurt most. He said it the way you'd mention the weather, casual and matter of fact, like he was helping me see something obvious I'd somehow missed. His wife Melissa nodded along, her perfectly manicured hand resting on a folder thick with paperwork they'd brought to my kitchen table. "We're just worried about you, Mum," Kevin said. "All these stairs, the maintenance, it's a lot for someone your age." Someone my age. As if 72 meant I'd already checked out, already halfway to wherever they thought old people belonged. I looked around my kitchen, at the window where morning light pooled on the counter, at the small chip in the tile backsplash from when Kevin himself had thrown a baseball indoors at age 9. Every mark, every corner held a memory, but when I looked back at my son's face, I saw none of that reflected there. He was doing math in his head, I realised. Square footage times market value. "We found a wonderful place," Melissa chimed in, sliding a glossy brochure across the table. "Sunset Meadows Senior Living Community." The cover showed silver-haired people playing cards and smiling at nothing in particular. "It's like a resort. You'd have friends, activities, no worries about upkeep. $8,000 a month, I'd later discover. Convenient that the sale of my house would cover their new place in Worthington and still leave enough to warehouse me somewhere out of sight. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how I became an ATM machine with a heartbeat. It started 6 years ago, right after my husband Frank passed. Heart attack, sudden, the kind that leaves you standing in the middle of your life wondering how to take the next step. Kevin was there for the funeral, of course, stayed a whole weekend. Before he left, he pulled me aside in the driveway. "If you ever need anything, Mum, anything at all." 2 months later, he called. His voice had that tight quality men get when they're trying not to sound desperate. He and Melissa had bought a house. A bit ambitious, he admitted, and the mortgage was stretching them thin. Just until his promotion came through, could I help with a few payments? I was a nurse for 37 years. I know about triage, about taking care of others first. So I said yes. The promotion never came. The few payments became every payment. Then the car insurance, then the groceries, then Melissa's gym membership, Kevin's subscription services, the landscaping for their lawn. Each request arrived wrapped in appreciation, in promises of just this once, and we'll pay you back. I drove a 15-year-old Honda with a crack in the windshield. They drove matching SUVs, new every 2 years. I bought store-brand everything. They posted Instagram photos from farm-to-table restaurants. I wore the same winter coat for a decade. Melissa's closet could have stocked a boutique. I told myself I was helping family. That's what mothers do, isn't it? We give. We stretch ourselves thinner and thinner until we're translucent, until you can see right through us to whatever's more important on the other side. $300,000 over 6 years. I know because I finally added it up, sitting at my kitchen table one Tuesday night, my reading glasses slipping down my nose as I went through bank statements. $300,000, and not once, not one single time, had Kevin asked me if I was happy, if I needed anything, if I had dreams left that cost money. The question was always, can you cover this? Never. Are you okay? The day they brought the paperwork about Sunset Meadows, I made tea. Earl Grey, the good kind Frank and I used to save for special occasions. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me knew this moment deserved ceremony. Kevin sat across from me, his phone face down on the table in a show of attention that felt rehearsed. Melissa had the folder open, her finger tracing across bullet points like a realtor closing a deal. "The studio apartments are actually quite spacious," she said. 300 square feet. 300 square feet. My bedroom alone was larger than that. And you'd have a meal plan. No more cooking unless you wanted to use the community kitchen. I'd been cooking in this kitchen since 1993. I knew which burner ran hot, which cabinet door stuck in humidity, where Frank had carved our initials inside the pantry door where nobody else would see. "The best part," Kevin added, leaning forward with what I suppose he thought was enthusiasm, "is that you'd have professionals right there. Medical staff, activities coordinators. You wouldn't have to worry about being alone." I wasn't alone. I had book club on Thursdays, my garden, my neighbour Patricia who came over for coffee. I had a life, small and quiet maybe, but mine. But I didn't say any of that. I watched my son's mouth move and realised I was looking at a stranger who happened to share my last name. "We could list the house next week," Melissa continued. "Market's strong right now. We'd probably get over asking." She'd said we. "And where would that money go?" I asked quietly. Kevin and Melissa exchanged a glance. The kind of wordless communication couples develop that excludes everyone else in the room. "Well, into a managed account for your care, obviously," Kevin said. "Though there'd be enough left that we could finally upgrade. We've been looking at a place in Worthington. Nothing crazy, just something with a better school district for when we have kids." When they have kids, they wanted to use my house to build their future family and tuck me away in 300 square feet to make room for it. "This is all for you, Mom," Kevin said, reaching across to pat my hand. "We just want you safe and taken care of." The thing about being invisible is that people forget you can still see them clearly. I told them I needed time to think about it. They left the brochure. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in the bed I'd shared with Frank for 40 years and stared at the ceiling, at the water stain shaped like a cloud that we'd always meant to fix, but somehow never did. Around 2 in the morning, I got up and walked through my house room by room. The living room where we'd watched Kevin take his first steps. The dining room where we'd hosted Thanksgivings for 20-some years, the table sagging under the weight of turkey and sides and Frank's terrible jokes. The back bedroom that had been Kevin's, still painted the blue he'd chosen at age 12. Every room whispered memories. But standing there in the dark, I realised my son had never asked about those whispers, had never asked what it would cost me to leave them behind. I wasn't old, I was just in their way. Thursday morning I drove to the bank. My hands shook as I pulled into the parking lot, though I couldn't have said whether it was rage or grief or something that didn't have a name yet. The banker, a young woman named Teresa, who'd helped me set up automatic payments years ago, smiled when I sat down. "What can I help you with today, Mrs. Brennan?" "I need to see all my automatic payments," I said. "Every single one." Her smile flickered with concern, but she pulled up my account. We went through the list together. 87 automatic payments, 87 separate ways I was bleeding money every month to support a life that wasn't mine. Kevin's mortgage, Melissa's class pass, their internet, their phones, their streaming services, their lawn care, their grocery deliveries, their wine club subscription. "Are you sure you want to cancel all of these?" Teresa asked gently. "Some of them have been active for years." "I'm sure," I said. My voice didn't shake. "Cancel everyone. This might cause some disruption for whoever's receiving these services. I know." She looked at me for a long moment and I saw recognition in her eyes. She was young, maybe 30, but she understood. "I'll process these right away," she said. I walked out of that bank, feeling lighter than I had in 6 years. The sun seemed brighter, the air cleaner. I got in my 15-year-old Honda with its cracked windshield and laughed until tears ran down my face. The call came 6 hours later. "What did you do?" Melissa's voice came through the phone so loud I had to hold it away from my ear. "I cancelled some payments," I said calmly. "Some payments? We just got notifications for everything. The mortgage payment bounced. Our insurance lapsed. What the hell were you thinking?" I settled into Frank's old recliner, the one I'd kept even though the fabric was worn. I was thinking I need that money for my own life. Your own, she sputtered. Do you have any idea what you've done? We have bills, obligations. We're going to be late on everything. Then I suggest you pay them yourselves. Silence. Actual stunned silence. Kevin needs to talk to you, she finally said. Kevin knows where I live. I hung up. My heart was pounding, but not with fear, with something that felt dangerously close to joy. He showed up the next morning, early enough that I was still in my bathrobe. I saw him through the kitchen window, pacing in the driveway like he was gathering courage, and I felt a pang of sadness. When had my son become someone who needed courage to talk to his own mother? I opened the door before he could knock. We need to talk, he said. Come in. He didn't sit, just stood in the middle of my kitchen, the one where I'd fed him breakfast before school for 18 years, and looked at me like I was a stranger who'd betrayed him. I don't understand what's happening, he said. First, you refused to even consider Sunset Meadows, which is an amazing facility, by the way, and now you're cutting us off completely? After everything we've been planning? Planning, I repeated. Tell me, Kevin, what exactly have you been planning? Your future, your care, we've been trying to help you. By selling my house out from under me and putting me somewhere I don't want to be? It's not about what you want, it's about what's safe. The words hung between us like smoke. I'm 72, I said quietly. Not dead, not incapable, not a problem that needs solving. That's not... He ran his hand through his hair, the same gesture he'd had since he was a boy struggling with homework. Mom, you're being unreasonable. We've been supporting you. Supporting me? The laugh that came out of me was sharp. Kevin, I've given you over $300,000 in the last 6 years. I've paid your mortgage while driving a car older than some marriages. I've bought your groceries while eating pasta 3 nights a week. Don't you dare tell me who's been supporting whom. His face went red. We never asked you to. You asked every time. Just this once, Mom. We're stretched thin, Mom. Can you help us out, Mom? I stepped closer. What you never asked is if I was happy, if I had enough, if I had dreams that cost money. You never asked because you didn't want to know, because I was more useful as an ATM than as a person. That's not fair. Fair? You wanted to warehouse me in 300 square feet so you could buy a bigger house. You wanted to take everything I have left of your father and turn it into equity for your future. And you had the audacity to tell me it was for my own good. We're family, he said, and his voice cracked. Family helps each other. You're right, I said. Family does help each other. But Kevin, you haven't treated me like family in years. You've treated me like an inheritance you could access early. He stared at me, and for just a second I saw my little boy in his face. The one who used to bring me dandelions and call them flowers. Then the moment passed and the stranger was back. Fine, he said coldly, if that's how you feel. He left without another word. I sat down at my kitchen table and cried for the first time since Frank died. Not because Kevin left, but because I'd finally said the truth out loud. Sophie showed up 3 days later. My granddaughter, 17 and fierce in the way teenage girls can be, stood on my porch with tears streaming down her face. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I pulled her inside, held her while she sobbed into my shoulder. Mom and Dad have been trash-talking you all week, she said when she could speak, saying you're senile and cruel and cutting them off for no reason. But I heard them talking when they thought I was asleep. About the house, about money, about how they finally had a plan to cash out. She pulled back to look at me. You're not a bank account, Grandma. You're not a thing to cash out. Your parents are under a lot of stress. Stop, she said firmly. Stop making excuses for them. You've been doing that my whole life, and it's not fair to you. Smart kid. Too smart, maybe, to have seen as much as she had. They had to sell the Worthington house, she continued, the one they were planning to buy. And Dad's looking for a second job. Mom's furious. She paused. Is it wrong that I'm kind of glad? Yes, I said. Then, no, I don't know. I'll be 18 in 6 months, Sophie said. I'm going to college after that. I just wanted you to know that I see you. I've always seen you, and you deserve better than being treated like an ATM with a pulse. An ATM with a pulse. The precision of it made me smile despite everything. After she left, I sat in Frank's recliner and thought about what family meant, about the difference between love and obligation, between helping and enabling, between sacrifice and self-erasure. Then I called my lawyer. The new will was simple. All assets, including the house, to be held in trust for Sophie until her 25th birthday. At that point, everything would be hers, to do with as she chose. To Kevin, $1, and a letter explaining why. My lawyer, a woman in her 50s who'd seen enough family drama to fill libraries, didn't try to talk me out of it. You're sure? She asked. I've never been more sure of anything. He'll contest it. Let him. I'm of sound mind, and this is witnessed and notarized. He can try. She smiled. Good for you, Dorothy. I heard through Sophie that Kevin and Melissa had to sell their house. Not the Worthington one. They'd lost that deal. But the one they already had. Downsized to a condo. Kevin took a job at a warehouse on top of his regular work. Their matching SUVs became a single sedan. Part of me felt guilty. That's the thing about being a mother. The guilt never fully goes away, even when you know you're right. But a larger part of me felt free. I used the money I'd been bleeding to them for other things. I fixed the roof I'd been putting off for 3 years. Got new glasses so I could actually see clearly. Started planning a trip to Scotland, something Frank and I had always talked about but never done. I planted new flowers in the garden, the expensive perennials instead of the cheap annuals. I bought myself a winter coat that didn't have a broken zipper. Small things. My things. The house didn't feel too big anymore. It felt exactly right. Kevin came by one more time, about a month after I'd changed the will. Sophie must have told him. He stood on the porch, hands in his pockets, looking older than his 43 years. Sophie said, "You're leaving everything to her." I am. And me. You get $1. He flinched like I'd slapped him. That's cruel, Mom. Is it? I gave you $300,000 while you tried to sell my home and put me away. I gave you 6 years of living beyond your means. I gave you everything I had. And you called it not enough. $1 seems generous, actually. I'm your son. Yes, I said. You are. And I loved you enough to sacrifice everything. But love isn't supposed to burn the giver to ashes just to keep someone else warm. He looked at me for a long time. I couldn't read his expression. There was anger there, certainly, but also something that might have been shame. I didn't realize, he said finally. No, I agreed. You didn't. He left, and I haven't seen him since. Sophie visits every week. We have tea and talk about her college plans, her friends, her dreams. She asks how I'm doing, and she actually listens to the answer. Last week she asked about Frank, wanted to hear stories about our early days, about what love looked like when it was young. You miss him, she said, every day. But I'm learning to miss him in a way that doesn't erase me. She nodded like she understood, this girl wise beyond her years. I'm 72 years old, and I'm learning what it means to be visible again. Not to everyone. Kevin may never see me as anything but the mother who disappointed him by refusing to disappear. But I see myself now. I see the woman who survived, who woke up, who chose her own dignity over her son's comfort. My house isn't too big, it's filled with memories and possibility and room to breathe, room to be. It took me 6 years to become an ATM machine. It took 1 day to become myself again. And if there's one thing I'd tell anyone listening, don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Not even family, especially not family. Because love that requires your erasure isn't love at all. It's just another transaction. And I'm done being currency in someone else's economy. I'm worth more than that. I always was.